Hey everyone, welcome back to the Senior Safety Advice Podcast. I am your host, Esther Kane. Today we're going to be talking about a relevant topic for the winter. So whether you're tuning in for yourself or you want to learn more about how to help a senior loved one stay safer in their own home, today's topic is very relevant during the winter time. Today we're going to be talking about, can you use your oven to heat your house? Now, a lot of seniors, my mom-in-law included, used to turn on the oven to heat her house. She would leave the oven door just a little bit open, thinking that that particular act would help her to not use her overall central heat as much. She thought she was saving money that way. But the truth is, there really are a lot of dangers involved with that, and it's not something that you necessarily want to do. So the short answer to the question, can you heat your house with your oven, is yes, you can, but should you? The answer is absolutely no. And there's three main reasons that I'm going to give you as to why it's not such a great idea to do that. One is, the oven is great for cooking and baking and all of that, but it's not so great for heating your home. For one thing, it's a fire hazard. That's the number one thing. So if you've got the oven door open, and maybe, someone knocks into it, it's easy to trip, bump into things. Maybe a piece of your clothing would get on it, or kitchen towel. Any of that can hurt you, and it can cause a fire, just anything heating up. And God forbid, if you have pets or grandkids that may put their hands or paws on there, it's just not a great, safe thing to do. Unless, of course, you put some kind of screen around it, and who's going to be doing that? The second thing that most people don't really think about is that a lot of ovens have knobs right above the door. Now, those knobs are usually made of materials that are heat resistant, but doesn't mean that they're fireproof or heat proof. So if the oven is on for quite a while, God forbid overnight, those knobs could definitely begin to melt, become malformed, and even get to the point where you won't be able to use them anymore. So you would have to replace them, or sometimes just the entire oven, which you don't want to do that. So the control knobs you want to look at to make sure, even if the control knobs are made out of steel, let's say, or metal, then the act of having then to turn off the oven, you want to make sure that you're going to use something, an oven mitt, something that will protect your hand, but are you going to remember to do that? So again, it's a fire hazard. You can burn yourself, and you can really destroy your oven. The other thing, the very third thing, is, of course, carbon monoxide. It's very sneaky. You don't smell it. You don't notice it. So you could start getting dizzy. You could get a headache. You may not recognize it as carbon monoxide poisoning. And if you don't have a carbon monoxide detector near your kitchen, then you definitely won't know. So why, take the risk of releasing all of that into your home and possibly causing a death? Because as we've heard recently in the news, several people have died because of carbon monoxide poisoning in their home. So a tip on the carbon monoxide detector: when you get one, make sure that it's at least mounted 5 feet high, on the wall, and you don't want it in the kitchen. You want it near the kitchen. So, because if it's in the kitchen, if you open up your oven to take out cookies or put things in, you may leave the oven door open a little bit while you put the tray away, and that little bit of carbon monoxide that does come out can set off the carbon monoxide detector if it's in the kitchen. So you want to put it out just outside the kitchen and 5 feet high, because carbon monoxide will go up, and that's where it will get detected the best. So eye level or higher, but 5 feet is generally the where you want to put your carbon monoxide detector on the wall or a shelf, as long as it's there. So what do you do? What can you do instead of opening up the oven door? Well, space heaters are the best thing to do, but if you have an old space heater, you probably should not be using it. The new space heaters have auto shut-offs, so they will turn off after an hour, 2 hours, however you set it. And they also will shut off if it happens to accidentally get tipped over by somebody tripping over it, kicking it for some reason. A pet may, bump into it. So it will turn off at that point. The newer space heaters will do that. So it's worth the investment to get yourself a newer space heater if you happen to have an old one. Ideally, you don't want to turn on a space heater all night. It's not safe no matter what. But for a few hours, it's nice to have that by you while you're watching TV or just starting to drift off to sleep. But the space heater would be on a timer. Now, we do have a few articles on our website about space heaters. I'll have a link to an article that we have about some space heaters that we have seen that I think would work very well for older adults. And then, of course, there are other articles on our site, or you can just go to seniorsafetyadvice.com and just type in the search box space heater, and you'll see those articles. But I'll have a link to it in the description for this podcast and YouTube video below. So another easy fix, of course, is blocking any drafts, windows, doors, anything like that. It can be very inexpensive, especially for doors, where you can create a tube. You can even get one of those pool noodles and cover it up with a nice little blanket or quilt, and you can put that right underneath your door. If you have windows that are letting a lot of cold air in, you may want to call someone, a handyman or family member, to come in and insulate the sides of the windows so that, you can decrease some of that, increase the weather stripping so that you can decrease the amount of cold air that is coming in from the outside. And of course, you want to layer up. My sister hates to layer up. She likes to wear one shirt and one pair of thin pants. And she lives in Florida, so she's not used to wearing more layers, but she does not like wearing a shirt on top of a shirt on top of a sweater. But to keep warm, that is what you do. And you can certainly use gloves. I love to use these gloves that have the fingers, come out of the gloves. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it. If not, I'll have a link to what they are in the podcast description. But it leaves my fingertips free so that I can type and I can grab things very well. But at the same time, it keeps my hand very, very warm. So that's one easy way to keep yourself a little warmer. Of course, you can use a combination of any of these, depending on where you live, and your tolerance to the cold weather. Now, we're in the midst of winter as I'm recording this, so this tip is not going to help at this point, but for next year it should help. You always want to plan for the winter, just like you want to plan for spring and summer and any season. You want to plan for the winter. You want to make sure that your furnace is up to date and checked and working. You want to make sure that your windows are sealed and that you have the right tools to make draft stoppers, for your doors or entryways, anything like that. And you always want to make sure that you have emergency supplies. I spent many years living in South Florida, so I learned very well how to keep emergency supplies, especially during hurricane season. So you want to have that all the time during the winter. Wouldn't hurt to have it all the time, actually, throughout the year. But it's good to have it during the winter. So just in case you can't get out for a week or 2 weeks because of snow, weather, ice, anything at all, you want to have enough food. You want to have enough water, not only for yourself, but for your pets as well, if you have pets. And you want to make sure that everything is functioning and everything is working well, mainly your furnace heater. So that's it. That's my tip for the day is, one, do not use your oven as a heater for your home. It is not safe. It's not intended for that at all. Instead, use space heaters. Make sure you have as much sealed as possible as far as windows and doors and anything that would allow cold air to come in. And then, of course, make sure that you have blankets and layers and the right equipment for yourself, the right clothing for yourself to help keep you warm as well. So, all right, that's it for today. I want to thank you so much for listening to the Senior Safety Advice Podcast. Feel free to leave your comments and, of course, subscribe. Let us know what you think about this particular topic and give us any recommendations for any future topics that you would like us to talk about. I would love to hear from all of you. So stay safe, stay warm, and I'll see you next time.